budget for President William Ruto. What are members of parliament saying about yesterday's discussion and what they need to expect to play on the floor of the House today, this afternoon, when it comes to the budget?
Well, thanks a lot, Brenda. Back in studio and you are panelist. It's a rather chilly morning here in Parliament and so to say in Nairobi County within the CBD, noting that various parts of Nairobi County received rainfall last evening. But that will not deter us from informing our viewers on what they should be expecting this crucial day and important day for the Kenya Kwanza government, noting that this is their first budget that they will be delivering to the people of Kenya. Remember that since they were sworn into government, they've been using the previous regime's budget estimates. And this time round, these will be the highest that has been ever witnessed in the country, 3.6 trillion shillings, and the issue will be how will this government ensure that they get taxes to finance these 3.6 trillion shillings. Yesterday we saw that members of parliament and so to speak, or to be specific, members of the National Assembly left here very late at around 9 p.m. They were debating the controversial, as you put it, because so many Kenyans have come up to indicate that they are maybe not comfortable with some of the proposals that have been given in the finance bill. And yesterday we saw that the members sat here up to 9 p.m. to take that crucial vote. And at the end of the day, the members of parliament from the Kenya Kwanza government had the day, given that 176 members of the National Assembly approved to pass the finance bill, and only 81 members of the Kenya Kwanza, or members of the National Assembly, let's say the members of the National Assembly, because they were mixed. There are those who are maybe from Kenya Kwanza, but they decided to cross the aisle and decided to vote for no, and they were 81 in number. And when I say this member, of course, there are two notable members. That is Gathoni Wamushomba, the member of parliament from Githunguri, although she was elected on a UDA party ticket, and she's from the Kenya Kwanza government. She indicated that she is following the voices of her constituents. Of course, when you go to Gatundu North, we have Elijah Njoroge. Although he is an independent member, he was elected on an independent ticket, but after the elections he jumped to the Kenya Kwanza. But yesterday we saw that he closed the aisle and decided to vote no. But interesting, Brenda, is that noting the high number of members from Azimio who are expected to be in the House, the numbers did really came as a shock, because most of the Kenyans who are expecting that their members will come to represent them, and of course they will have their views on what will be the next course of action, given that the Kenya government, or the Kenya Kwanza government, has already indicated that they will be pushing these finance bill to the letter. And there is a big number of Azimio legislators who failed to come to the House. They've been giving several excuses. Some say that maybe they intended that the debate or the voting will come next week, but it happened that the vote took place yesterday. Now, Brenda, the next step is that after this bill has passed the second reading, now the next step is the Committee of the Whole House. At the Committee of the Whole House, this is where we expect that various amendments that have been proposed by the Finance Committee. Remember that one of the major amendments that the Finance Committee has proposed to bring when the bill comes to the Committee of the Whole House is reducing that levy. I don't know where I'll call it a tax. Initially it was a levy, the housing levy, from 3%, and now it's a tax of 1.5%. That is one of the main amendments that they will be pushing. Another amendment that they will also be pushing at the Committee of the Whole House is to remove the levy that they had proposed on cosmetics for the women of Kenya. That goes to say about the eyebrows, the human hairs and stuff, and their nails. And so we saw yesterday the chairman of the Finance Committee, Kimani Kuria, indicating that they intend to remove that when it comes to the Committee of the Holders, when amendments will be amended on this finance bill. From there, after they agree, of course, they will go take a vote on each and every amendment, and if the amendments will get at least a simple majority, because it just be a simple majority, then it will move to the next step, which is the third reading. And so after the third reading, if the members or the Kenya Kwanza government will have marshaled enough support, as it happened yesterday, where we saw the members being whipped to remain in the House up to past 9 p.m. Then the bill will have passed the third reading, and now it will be ready to be taken to the president for assent, and then that will become law. But before that, there are two more hurdles to go, and here we'll be waiting. I have not spotted several members. I have not spotted any member here, maybe due maybe to the weather or the chilly weather. Maybe some are still preparing to come, because today we don't have any morning sessions. What we have is that there are several committees that are still ongoing, which is normal in both houses. That's the National Assembly and the Senate. But when it comes to 2:30 p.m., that's when we expect that members will be meeting. That's the National Assembly will convene for this special day. Of course, they call it a special day because they will be inviting the CS for Finance, that is Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, to come and present his budget estimates, and that will happen at around 3 p.m. But I have information that compared to his predecessor, where we used to get a post and pre-briefings, this time round we understand that that will not be happening. But let's just hope that we'll get a chance after the presentation by the CS, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, will get a chance to interact with the members of Parliament and, of course, the officials from the Ministry of Finance, so that they can at least come out clear and give us the real issues that are on the ground. And of course, Brenda, I'm not alone. I'm with my colleague Emmanuel To, who is on the other side of the August House, and we'll be also expecting that when we see some members here of the National Assembly, will be wanting to take their thoughts so that we can know where did they stand. Remember that I attended several meetings when the Finance Committee was hearing public participation. Remember that public participation is enshrined in the Constitution, that in case of any bill or any motion that comes to the National Assembly or to Parliament, the public must have a chance to give out their issues or their recommendations on, or their suggestions on what they think about that particular bill or that particular law. And that happened for at least 1 week, and I attended some of the sessions. I can remember various groupings, various organizations coming out and indicating that this housing levy is not does not sit very well on them, because there are no proper avenues, or there's no proper policy to ensure that this money that will be collected from Kenyans, where will it be held, which organizations or which platform will it be held, so that it can be controlled. We also saw that there are those who are also against the increment of the fuel levy from 8% to 16%, and so majority of Kenyans out there maybe are asking what will happens to their suggestions or to their memoirs or to their recommendations that they bring to Parliament before any law is passed by the House. And so these are just some of the concerns, and these concerns, of course, will of course be raised by Kenyans. We have our colleagues Willie Lusige, who is of course in Nairobi County, and he'll also be picking some thoughts from Kenyans in regards to these finance bill, even as we await for the CS for Treasury Professor Njuguna Ndung'u to come and give his estimates. And before, Brenda, I leave, I've been into this parliament, I think this is my 5th term. When I say my 5th term, that means I've been long here, and I've covered several budget proceedings. But what I've noticed that this time round, the finance bill came before the budget estimates. And it's very interesting because initially we used to have the budget, and then after the budget is read, then the government introduces the finance bill on which they tell Kenyans on how they intend to pass or to get taxes and finance that budget. Well, I have met one Mheshimiwa here. Let him just introduce himself and then tell us his feeling or his comments in regards to today's big day when Kenya Kwanza government will be presenting its first budget estimates.
Thank you very much. My name is Senator Wahome Wamatinga. I am quite excited about this budget. Not the fact that it is the first budget of the Kenya Kwanza, but it has been one of the budgets that has been discussed quite extensively by Kenyans. It is a very clear indicator that Kenyans are really coming of age. They are starting to appreciate that it is their obligation, it is their duty, and it is actually indeed their own effort that will make the country develop economically. It is a good budget because it is one of the budgets where we are looking forward to financing a very great extent of our own expenditure without resorting into borrowing. You know, we've always borrowed money to finance the current expenditure, and that has gotten us into this economic situation where we've always over-relied with a foreign-driven budget. This is a Kenya-driven budget. It actually addresses the issue of having to raise taxes so that we can meet our obligation, and I think moving forward, this is the thing that we would want Kenya to see Kenya doing, indeed most African countries doing, making budgets that are financed by their own dynamics and their own resources.
If I'm not wrong, Bona Senator, you were elected on a Kenya Kwanza regime, and the cries of the people is that are you not having your priorities upside down, because most of the Kenyans are feeling that maybe even the housing levy should not be prioritized. The issue should be about the maize flour or making sure that the essential commodities come down. And now that you have decided to increase maybe the fuel levy from 8% to maybe 16%, this shows that if this is passed, then essential commodities, the prices will go high. That is transport, because industries use fuel. Of course, life will go high.
Indeed, that could be an argument looking at it from a very simplistic approach. However, we know that the economic dynamics, it's quite complex. And what we've been doing up to now is using borrowed money to subsidize even some consumable goods. We've been using 480 billion every year to subsidize fuel. What we are saying is we've been paying up to now 8% VAT on fuel. We are saying that we are going to raise it to 16%. You know, we need to tell the people the truth. The 8% that has been paid by the government, actually it is that the marketers have been going to the treasury and getting the difference. So the net effect has been that this has been financed using the taxes that have been collecting. What we are saying now, we want to close the gap and the window that has been there, giving opportunity to some people who've been collecting the receipts from petrol station and going to the treasury to claim the money back. We are saying now we want to see the money direct instead of redistributing from the taxpayer. We want to see the taxpayer pay so that the loophole that has been used by unscrupulous business people can come to an end. This is the budget that we are saying we must create dynamics. Indeed, it is a budget that we are looking at trying to bring an economic stimulus into the economy so that Kenyan economy can be people-driven. It cannot happen without having to raise taxes. That is the fact of the matter. And the only options we have are two. One, to raise taxes, all sell the government assets. And we think for the future generation, it is better we pay taxes today so that we can reduce the debt deficit that we've been having in every economic every year economic cycle.
Maybe another issue that has also been raised by the public is that initially it was 3% housing levy. After the proposal by the Finance Committee, they've proposed that 1.5% tax. It moves from a levy to a tax. How does it, or how will someone track that money now that it seems to be a tax? Where is this money going to? Where is it floating?
I think that's a very, very good question. In fact, the issue that has been actually been a big burden to this country is misappropriation of money. What we are saying is, and that's what we are going to do as parliamentarians, we are going to ensure that our oversight is indeed very good, because we're saying we cannot pay the taxes and then just watch as the money gets misappropriated. Up to now, we've had the challenge of, and I think the former president will be losing a lot of money by not collecting enough revenue, but now we are saying whatever is going to be collected, we are going to ensure that it's also appropriately used. On the issue of coming down from 3%, the Kenya Kwanza is a reasoning government. People spoke, and it was in a spirit of give and take. We said, okay, let's come down to 1.5%, but progressively, I think it would be a good thing when we create a culture of savings and creating revenue through which we can be able to do our own investments.
My final question will be, now that you've talked about ensuring that this money that will be collected will not go to waste. It's 9 months or 10 months since Kenya Kwanza set into government, but we've seen several scandals, especially in KEMSA, the mosquito nets. If you don't come up with a law that will ensure that those who are maybe culprits of these corruption cases, do you really think that you are any near to win the war, noting that even the cases that were initially there, the DPP withdrew them?
Let me say that the dragon of corruption is indeed deeply ingrained in the Kenyan community. We must start changing the way we look at things. The fight against corruption is not left for the government alone. We must admit the fact that this is the business community, a private business community, in collusion with the government officials who work together to perpetuate this corruption. We must start rethinking what are the new strategies that we can use. And I think we are starting to a candid discussion, like you've said, that we cannot keep on saying the same thing about KEMSA, about the scandals. We must start a new narrative where people are saying, yes, we are paying taxes and we are prepared to pay taxes, but we also want to ensure that the oversight law that has been given to the parliamentarians and indeed to all the Kenyans must be enhanced. And this is the way that we must go.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bwana Senator, and wish you all the best today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Brenda. That was the Nyeri Senator, Wamatinga, and you clearly heard it from him, is that he's ready for the day. Before Brenda, I let you in. I know Mwangi is on my case, the producer, but just pick one member here and just hear from him, and I know maybe you'll introduce yourself and then you tell us what your expectations very fast because of time.
Mimi ni Senator wa Embu County, Mondigi. Tunatarajia sisi maseneta kama mifai chairman ya agriculture, tunatarajia hiyo mbilo isungumuse mambo ya kilimo, juu mwananchi kama atapatiwa pesa mzuri, dawa na fertilizer, kilimo itakuwa nzuri na tutakuwa na mazao mazuri. Kuhusu maji ya irrigation na kuhusu fertilizer na pia na mboho, ndio kila county, kwa sababu kilimo iko under county government, kwa sababu ndio devolution iweze kuendelea vizuri. Hiyo ingine ni mambo ya elimu, ipatiwe pesa mzuri ndio watoto wetu kutoka nursery mpaka university waweze kupata pesa ile itawawezesha kusoma vizuri.
Okay, asante sana. Well, that was the Embu Senator. You'll note that senators are here early. I think majority of them have committees to attend, but of course the big burden lies on the National Assembly. Remember that the CS for Treasury will be appearing before the National Assembly. And so, Brenda, a lot of activities here at the National Assembly, also to say Parliament, and we'll be engaging more parliamentarians just to pick their thoughts in regards to today's budget and yesterday's finance bill. And so we'll keep you updated, and in case of any queries, just come back to us and we'll enlighten or maybe shed light on those issues, Brenda.
Actually, thank you so much, Pesta. Before I bring in my panelists to shed more light on what you've said, I still want to go back to a road near Parliament buildings that is housing the National Treasury building. The man of the moment is CS Njuguna Ndung'u. And Jimmy Mbogo, good morning. What is the CS saying? I mean, Kenyans have spoken. They want this budget to be a hustler's budget.
A very good morning to you too, Brenda. Yes, rightfully, as you have said, this is something that we had a conversation yesterday with the CS and, of course, together with the Permanent Secretary, that is Dr. Chris Kipto, just trying to understand what has been their thought process while preparing this budget. Now, one of the things that the CS actually said is that this has been quite a perfect storm, looking at all the things that have happened from COVID-19, the Russia-Ukraine war, and also just looking at the drought situation that we had across East Africa. And now they have also just that transition, looking at the previous administration now to the Kenya Kwanza administration, and now they're just saying that what they have to do as a government is make sure that they come up with a budget policy statement that, of course, is going to be able to reflect and ensure that they cushion that is the most vulnerable of the society, and making sure that this budget is going to spur economic growth. And of course, he went on to just speak about some of the measures. Of course, he couldn't get into details about what is going to be contained specifically within this budget, but also just assuring us that this is a budget, it's a mwananchi budget. They seem to be very pleased with the budget that they are going to present today. And of course, the element of surprise has to be there, like with any other policy statement, of course, saying they would not want to be in a situation where they have given out too much information that it disadvantages or advantages some people within the society. So of course, there's going to be that element of surprise within this budget. And also the other thing that of course they have said is this is the current pains that Kenyans are experiencing is what they termed as a point of pain that is necessary just to be able to make sure that they spur economic growth. And of course, that is Dr. Chris Kipto went on to talk about the fiscal consolidation measure that this government is going to put in place, and saying that the government has been very receptive in terms of being able to align its budgetary priorities, and also just being cautious of what mwananchi is feeling. Of course, one thing that we would really want to see is how they navigate the current economic situation, and of course looking at the high cost of living. That of course is in the mind of every Kenyan, and just trying to understand how are these new tax measures going to make life better and making life easier for Kenyans. So Brenda, I'm just going to move slightly away from this shot so that you can be able to see what is happening behind us at the National Treasury. Of course, it is preparation. As you can see, the coat of arms that is normally on top of the National Treasury building entrance has been removed. I think it's going to be replaced by a new one. Remember, this is a big day, not only for Kenya, but for the region as well, because Kenya is the largest economy in East Africa. And of course, the other East African countries will be looking to see what happens in Kenya. What are some of the debt management measures that we are going to put in place? What are the new taxes that Kenya is going to introduce? Because a stronger Kenya is better for the region. So this is something that we will be here for the better part of the day, just to understand what is going on. Of course, we were expecting maybe to be able and to be allowed to go inside just as we prepare. Of course, the CS is expected to come out anytime from 12 in the afternoon and make his way to Parliament. So we will be here, Brenda, just to see what has been going on. We've seen a number of Treasury officials just getting into vehicles. I wouldn't be sure where they're heading, but I would take an informed guess and assume that they will be making their way to Parliament. Of course, we will be listening to the CS. We'll try and make our way inside the 14th floor of the National Treasury building to see if we will be able to get lucky and maybe have a word with the CS or with the PS and just get to hear what they have to feel, how they feel about today's budget. And of course, Brenda, now this is the very first time that Professor Njuguna Ndung'u is at the helm of the monetary policy side, of the fiscal policy side. You will remember he was at the helm of the monetary policy side, looking at matters to do with development, but now it is the entire economy, the fate of the entire economy raising on his shoulder. Brenda?
Thank you so much, Jimmy Mbogo, for that. Of course, a lot is expected to play out today on the floor of the House. When the man of the day, that is the CS Njuguna Ndung'u, makes his way to Parliament to read to Kenyans the budget. And of course, you also need to dissect this budget, what it means to the common mwananchi. Does it reflect the will of the people? Will it be a better budget and a perfect, or rather perfect budget than the previous administration of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta? This is President William Ruto's inaugural budget for the financial year 2023-2024. And of course, I'm not alone here in studio. Before we take a short commercial break, I need to give you the faces of the men, brilliant minds here. And I know some of the sectors will be affected by this budget. And of course, when we come back, we need to hear from David Mwiti, who's the Associate Director at the Global Employment Services. And together with David Mwiti is also Kenneth Onjohi, Associate Director in Tax at the KPMG. I was about to say KMPG, but it's KPMG. And of course, the CEO for the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I'm talking about Anthony Mwangi. He'll also be telling us whether this budget, actually the finance bill, is how it's going to affect the manufacturing sector. So these are the three gentlemen, brilliant minds here on KTN News Center this morning to dissect, what this budget means. Does it reflect the will of the people? Is it a better budget? And what the finance bill means for the entire country. So a short commercial break. I'll be right back with this gentleman here on KTN News Center.